shooting down in the woods. He wouldn't leave it even if he could. 'Cause life is good, yeah!
Hickok45, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from Middle Tennessee, Paradise, yeah, home of Alvin York. Oh boy, we need to talk a little bit about Alvin York. Yes, it's that time of the week. Going to talk guns, and I'm in the mood to talk guns. I really am. You know me, regardless of whatever requests I get to do anything, I've got to be in the mood to do it, okay? So, I'm in the mood to talk about firearms, so let's talk about a few things like, we better talk about that old 1911, and I'll tell you why if you don't know why. And maybe the Knob Creek machine gun shoot, a few words about that. Reloading, got a couple of comments there. What else was I going to maybe talk about? Making some choices about guns and reloading equipment and those sorts of things. Some philosophy there I might throw at you. What else? Let's see. Oh, gun I used to have. You might find interesting, some of you. Gun action of the week, of course. And might give you a little info about that interesting, quote-unquote, little smart car you saw me driving. And anyway, and who knows what else we'll talk about. But that's a pretty good start, and we'll see how it goes. How's that? And speaking of the 1911, as you know, this is a very big year for the 1911. I think you probably know. For the 1911 pistol, generally 45 ACP, not always, but that's the configuration that was adopted by the U.S. military, correct? Yes. In the year 1911. Whoa, must be a coincidence there. I see a trend. It's called the 1911, isn't it, by most people? So, March 29th is the big date when it was officially adopted. That, I think, is coming up Tuesday. But I don't have a calendar from me, but I think it's Tuesday. And I thought maybe you might want to be reminded about that. You folks who maybe are not familiar with the 1911 at all. And there may be a few people listening to this who don't even know what a 1911 is. You know, we have a lot of folks just getting into shooting and learning about firearms. And, you know, hey, that's fine. We love to have you. We want you. We're not making fun of you, ever. I might seem to, but I really never am. But, you know, the 1911 is a very, very popular format type of firearm. You know, semi-automatic pistol, and I know you've seen them, and you probably know what I'm talking about. The 45 Colt ACP automatic. It's called all sorts of things. Old slab sides. Been around forever. Gun shop shelves usually have a bunch of them. A well-stocked gun shop quite often will have, you know, an entire display case with 2 or 3, 4 shelves full of various types of them. So most of you know what they are, of course. You may not have owned one or fired one, but you kind of know what they are, I think. Wonderful guns, wonderful guns. Not the only gun, but they're wonderful guns. And then speaking of Alvin York, of course, you know, in World War I, he was won the Medal of Honor. He took out, I guess it was a German machine gun nest, and held off attacking Germans with both his rifle, and then the story is he dispatched 7 or 8 German soldiers with his 1911, and apparently had it topped off, maybe 7+1. There's some controversy there, one way or the other, not a big deal, but he just did accomplish an amazing feat of arms there, and kept his cool under fire and attack, and deliberately, you know, firing with deliberation is what I mean, dispatch those soldiers. Apparently, shooting from the rear soldier to the forward soldier attacking, you know, so they wouldn't know that they were being picked off, and so anyway, and they, you know, so they wouldn't scatter. So anyway, very interesting event and accomplishment, and genuine American hero, Alvin York. We're proud to say he's from the great state of Tennessee. So, another little piece of 1911 history, right? And anyway, the 1911, you're seeing a lot of hoopla about it. You might be one of those people who has not been into firearms that long. You might be young, and or you might be old. And you might just prefer a Glock or a Springfield XDM, or a Walther or something else, and you just have no use for those things. You have an uncle or someone who has one, you went shooting with him and it seemed to malfunction every other magazine or something and kicked a lot or whatever the case might have been, Well, be kind. It's a nice gun with the right ammo, and if everything's okay, the gun is properly tuned, or even right out of the box generally, it's usually pretty reliable. It really is. They've made some improvements in the ramps and everything. They'll even feed, most of them will feed hollow points pretty well. You want to check them out, of course, before you carry one with hollow points in it. But they're nice guns. They're fun to shoot. I prefer a Glock. If I'm going to be attacked by a herd of zombies or terrorist zombies, I'd probably rather have my Glock 21 or my Glock 40 caliber, something like that, because I have 100% confidence in it, But 1911 is mighty reliable too, especially with just ball ammo, and fun to shoot and easy to shoot pretty well. If you're not recoil sensitive, it's a pretty easy gun to shoot well. But anyway, give it a chance. Sometime you might want to try it if you don't have one or if you've never had one. I bought one, my first one, probably around 74, I think, in Franklin, Tennessee. I bought a nickel-plated government model, 5-inch government model, 1911 Colt. It was in a display box, had a glass top, I remember, had little insert places for the bullets. It was a beautiful little package. I took it out to it was a phosphate mine area. Didn't have any property of my own at the time to shoot on, and just took a few shots with that thing. I could not hit anything. I'd been used to shooting revolvers, and it just had this strange recoil, and I hadn't even fired a large caliber semi-automatic pistol, I guess, until that one, and it just felt odd. I traded the thing about a week later. Oh man, I should be kicked. But I did. I traded it off. And then it was another year or two before I got the 1911 bug again. And then, of course, the rest is history. I've had one ever since and fired them quite a bit over the years. But the 1911 is a wonderful gun. This is the anniversary. So I wanted to talk a little bit about it, remind you about it. We want to celebrate that on Tuesday and all year long. It is a fine gun. It's a fine piece of course, American tradition, and I think people all around the world can appreciate it, just like we appreciate the firearms, the fine firearms that are produced in other countries, whether it's an AK or a Mauser or whatever it might be, an Enfield. But it's just a gun with character. Generally, it works, and it's very effective. A wonderful cartridge, just something, and a beautiful gun. Oh man, beautiful gun. Just a good looking gun. I really like just the basic configuration, but it's hard to find a really ugly one, no doubt about it. So, big year for the 1911. You see a lot of it in the magazines, a lot of articles, and we'll try to do some more videos with the ones I have and the ones we know about. So, maybe pretty soon. So, just had to mention the 1911 today. This is not really the gun action of the week or anything, but since it is the big weekend, I just couldn't help but have a 1911 handy, maybe for the entire weekend. Would you like to hear it? That's what you're hearing. Good old 1911 locked back. Pull forward. Snap it once there. Put a magazine loaded full of Winchester PDX up in there. Clicked in. Hammer cock. Thumb safety engaged. Thumb safety disengaged. Drop the magazine. Rack the slide. Magazine back in. All nice sounds, huh? Good old 1911. Thank you, John Browning. Speaking of various kinds of guns, 1911s, Glocks, whatever, and in making those choices, probably 80% of the questions I get has to do with making a choice. People looking for a certain type of gun or wanting to decide what gun to purchase. And wanting input from me, because I do shoot a lot of different kinds of guns and have had a lot of experience, and of course I'm flattered that people think I have advice that's worth anything. Sometimes I wish I had no experience and was just totally dumb and ignorant about these things. But anyway, one thing that has come up, I'll wax philosophical a little bit here. I have seen several people in comments or in messages to me especially will make a comment occasionally, and I think probably a lot of us think this way because we are shooters. Let me explain. People will make a comment. Got one just recently about someone, I think it was about Glocks, or I'm not sure, or maybe polymer pistols in general. Someone made the comment that they kind of like to do something different from what everybody else was doing, or not buying what everybody else was buying, or not jumping on the bandwagon, or not drinking the polymer Kool-Aid or the Glock Kool-Aid, or that kind of thing, and just kind of getting something different. Want something a little different, something unique. And I understand that. And what happens is sometimes I think if we're not careful, we want to do something different just to be different. We might not actually end up getting what we really want, or something that is substandard to what maybe we would like, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We can all identify with that. I think just by nature, most people who are into firearms are generally not all that concerned about what other people think. We probably tend to be a more independent lot, at least historically. I don't know, it seems like now everybody's getting into firearms, so maybe a little bit different. But by and large, I've always thought about shooters as, especially really avid shooters, gun collectors, as people who are definitely not afraid to go against the tide, the current, because historically there's been a little bit of a, I don't know, not a stigma, that might be a little strong, but a lot of people are afraid of guns. They think people who are really into guns might be a little weird and all that. And that's changing a lot. Of course, nowadays, so many people are getting into firearms. But still, people who are into firearms tend to be a little bit more independent, I think. They're not afraid to do something different, Go buy guns and shoot them. That's a little different from, say, the majority of people, I guess you could say, on the planet, and even maybe in the United States. So that's one thing. And then, of course, by nature, I think people just, at least most people, don't like to just follow the crowd, do what everybody else is doing. There's that feeling when you're maybe choosing whatever it is, maybe furniture or anything else. Everybody's got that, or everybody likes that. Let's get something different, where everybody's driving one of those cars. Let's get something a little different, or whatever it might be. Everybody eats there. Let's eat somewhere else. With firearms, you're already dealing with some people who have kind of climbed out of the mainstream in some ways. And you're dealing with kind of an independent sort of person, largely. This is kind of my perspective. So I think you get on thin ice when you're talking about firearms or reloading machines, for example. I've heard people say that. And people have said that to me on this very same topic. That's another reason that I wanted to talk about it, because I always think of that. Because I am definitely not someone who follows the crowd. But here I am with Dillon reloaders. It seems like everybody buys Dillon reloaders. Glocks. I like Glocks. Most people, it seems like Glocks if they shoot a lot, Okay, man, don't I have a mind of my own? Gee, Hickok, you look like you'd think for yourself. You'd be carrying some unusual firearm, probably. You can, apparently, it seems, get about any firearm you would like. Why are you doing the Glock? Everybody's got Glocks. Every cop's carrying a Glock. You got those crazy blue Dillon reloading machines, too. Isn't that what just about everybody uses? Don't you have a mind of your own? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, what a lot of people are using, they're using it just because it is so good. Dylan, for example, I'm not doing an ad for Dylan, but the reloaders, I used to hear the same thing about them. I heard about them, probably 10 years before I ever bought one. How great they were, to the point where I was sick of hearing about them. And but when I went to a buddy's reloading room, he let me load on a 550, and I thought, whoa, where have I been? Where's the Dylan reloader been my whole life? And so I jumped into that, and wow, am I glad. I'm so sorry I hadn't gotten them sooner. And you can say the same thing for some of the polymer wonder. If you shot a polymer pistol, one of the new wonder guns of the last decade or two, they're just fun to shoot, and they work. Extremely reliable. I'm sorry, if you just don't want to buy one of these black polymer pistols that everybody's shooting because it's what everybody has, obviously you can suit yourself. Get a 1911. Everybody's got one of those too. But you're already out of the mainstream when you're a shooter, is my point. And try not to limit yourself just because so many people are using a particular product or a particular type gun or reloading machine or whatever it might be. Everybody likes those. I don't want one of those. I want to get something different. Well, you might get something different that's just not as reliable. Plus, we're not talking about choosing paint for your bedroom. We're talking about a pistol that, in many cases, it's for your defense, possibly. It's something that you're buying for a CCW pistol or home defense or whatever it is. You want something reliable. And, that's one reason I went into the polymer wonders, back in the 80s, was the reliability. I didn't care what it looked like. I used to drive boxy, ugly Volvos. I drive a boxy, ugly Element right now. I'm all about function and reliability, and don't really care, as you know, probably, what people think about it. Heck, I rented a smart car lately. Drove that thing for about a week and a half. Could care less what people think. I just thought, maybe it'd be fun to try that thing out. Kind of sorry I did that. I'll talk about that. But I'm not big on what other people think about it, and I certainly don't just drink the Kool-Aid because everybody else has something. But anyway, just a little philosophy there on that. Be wary of just swimming against the current because so many people are using a particular type of something, whether it's a 1911 or it's a Glock or it's an XD or anything. Of course, suit yourself. There's a lot of really reliable firearms out there, and you can swim against the current and get something that maybe is not quite as prevalent, that is also very reliable and very well made, something you can rely on. So, that's out there too. But it's just that I've gotten several comments like that or messages over the last 6 months, and it just I always find myself wanting to say that, just be wary. Don't reject something too quickly out of hand just because a lot of people use it. There might be a reason why so many independent thinkers, generally independent thinkers, have chosen that. So, okay, enough said on that, I guess. And speaking of choosing firearms and that sort of thing, I wanted to again make a comment about choosing between a couple of different models, a couple of different guns. I get a lot of questions, very specific. I think people are trying to help me out instead of just saying what would be my best first gun, Hickok, and that kind of thing. I am getting a lot of questions that will be similar to what's better gun, Glock 23 or Glock 19, or Glock 22 or Glock 23, or a SIG this or H&K that, or kind of thing. And of course, still remember, it's hard for me to know what the best gun is for you. I think I've addressed that before. I would need to ask you a ton of questions. It's just like me telling you what kind of car is best for you, what kind of furniture is best for you, or just anything. I don't know. Is it for carry? Is it for the range? And you recoil sensitive? And I've gone through all that before. Just a reminder, before you ask any of those questions, I need a lot of background. And of course, the other side of that is I don't really have time to read 3 paragraphs of background. But look at the videos, and hopefully you get an idea just from what I say and how they shoot and how big they are. I tried to do quite a few comparisons, especially lately, showing you the size of various guns that's one thing that gun shows are good for too. If you can get to a gun show, a really nice one, you can pick up and see a lot of firearms side by side, get an idea of how large they are, and I try to give you that information as well. And then you see how well they shoot or not, and how kind of how they recoil. I know that I don't really show a lot of recoil generally, but you can kind of get an idea from watching that. But it really is hard to tell you which gun is better for you when you give me a couple of 3 different models. I have no idea what model would be better for you, really. But just continue your research, and hope the videos help you in that regard. I thought I'd talk about a gun I had. I don't think I did that last week, but was reminiscing about some firearms I let get away. And I don't think I've talked about this. I might be getting into reruns. You got to watch me. I blab so much in the videos and on this radio, that this radio show, as we call it, that I might just repeat myself. So you'll just have to bear with me. But anyway, I back in about, when was it? 1980. Ooh, gosh, it must have been about 82. Yeah, about 82. I saw an ad in a Trader's Post that we had here in Nashville. You know, back then there was no online stuff or anything, for an H&K 93, and I had read an article on that somewhere along the way. And that was the early days, really, of just regular shooters buying that sort of thing. The H&K 93 is a 223, 5.56 by 45, you know, what you would consider a assault rifle. Some people would, you know, it was semi-automatic, of course, but really well-made, heavy rifle. Had collapsible stock. That thing was pure quality, no doubt about it. Anyway, I bought it off of, from an ad, went to a guy's place, and he turned out to be kind of a dealer and everything, worked out of his house. Had a used H&K 93. Looked at it, thought, ooh, this is cool. I had never owned anything like that. Nobody I knew had owned anything like that, to tell you the truth. You know, speaking of, not going with the mainstream. So I was more or less attracted to the black, quote-unquote, rifles early on, really. I know I'm an old guy, but, I like lots of different kinds of guns. I don't have to tell you that. And I have for quite a while. If you go back into the early 80s, there weren't many folks that had ARs and H&Ks in their gun safes, or in their closets, or anywhere, really. There were a few, I'm sure, quite a few, but not in the mainstream. So anyway, that gun I picked up and had a blast with it. It was fun. That was my first experience with the black rifles. And very soon after that, I bought an AR-15. Well, the one that that you have seen. I guess it was 83, end of 83 or 84, I forgot now. But it's the A2 that you've seen in videos. So I had both of those there, and then I bought 5 acres and a log house out in another part of Tennessee, and had a lot of fun shooting those guns. Then I traded, I don't even remember what I traded or sold the H&K 93 for. I think after I got the AR-15 and saw how well it shot and how much lighter it was, that I lost some of my my love for the 93, even though it was a very, very nice gun. But anyway, some of you may be familiar with that gun, may have owned one of those. Don't see them around. My gosh, I don't know when I saw an H&K 93 the last time. You see a 91 every now and then. And I know during some of the crime bill or the bans and different things, those things have skyrocketed in price. That $300 H&K is probably worth $2,000 now or something. Who knows if you found one. But anyway, I thought you might find that interesting. That I really did get into these sorts of guns early on, although I've never delved into an area like that and just become, I don't know, so engrossed in one type of shooting or firearms that I just neglected everything else. I've pretty much always been interested in a variety of different types of guns, and the history. It's the Old West, or the military rifles, military pistols, or modern double actions, and just the whole 9 yards. So But anyway, that was my little foray into the black rifle. By the way, I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but the Knob Creek machine gun shoot's coming up again, I guess in about 2 weeks. So kind of looking forward to that. I don't know if you've ever been to anything like that. You might want to, well, you don't have to Google. Let's see what, well, you might have to. I forget what their actual website is. But it's the Knob, K-N-O-B, Creek, C-R-E-E-K, machine gun shoot. It'll take you there pretty quickly. And I think they have some footage of the kinds of things they do there at Knob Creek. It's up in Kentucky, near Louisville, Kentucky. Every fall and every spring, you saw maybe the videos we did. I forget now, 2 or 3 different videos we posted with some montage stuff, from Knob Creek up there. Steve Lee was up there and did a little singing, and we messed around, shot some guns. I guess there's some footage in Return of the Rapid Fire, from Knob Creek and just various things. But anyway, that's coming up. If you live in the area, surrounding Kentucky, and have not been to that, that's definitely worth a visit for a day at least, or an afternoon, to kind of check out that culture. That is quite a unique experience if you've not been to one of those. But John and I are planning to pop in there for a little while, either Saturday or the Sunday of that coming up. I guess it's the second weekend in October they have it, and then the second weekend in April. So double check the schedule there, and you might want to check that out if you live within driving distance. And this week's gun action is going to be something I guess quite classic. But first, last week, and I don't have it out here with me in the reloading room. Sorry about that. But many of you got it right. You really did. I think that one was a little easier than most of them. For those folks that are at least pretty familiar with this fairly common firearm, and it was, yes, the AR-15. It was my short barrel M4 civilian version, 16-inch barrel Bushmaster. Yes, that sound of the aluminum magazine and action was pretty unmistakable if you have one. So quite a few of you got that one right away, I noticed. The good old AR-15. Been around a while, hasn't it? Well, that brings us to this week. Here I go again, playing with your minds, your ears. This is difficult, I realize, but let's test it. I think you should probably, most of you, get the type of gun it is. Getting the exact model and everything might be a little more difficult, but we'll try it. Here we go. I'll make some different sounds. I might even try to load a round or two. Fine, there's one. I'm going to put a round into battery and eject it. I'll do it twice. You hear it hit the floor? There's another one in. Safely, of course. Alright. Bounced off my reloading machine. Safety was on, of course. I'm going to put the safety off now. And pull the trigger. Alright, it's safe. Okay, so that's this week's firearm. See if you can tell what that is. Make a guess. Again, best place to guess is in the comments, where everybody can see how ignorant you are. Just kidding. You recall the guys in Canada in the Canadian Reload Radio interview tested me, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't hear it really well, but even if I could, I don't think I would have gotten it. It's very tough, very tough. One thing I was going to confess to in the radio show this week is regarding the smart car, which I have come to refer to as the dumb car. But and I will also add that in the radio show, for those of you loyal. You must be my most loyal viewers and folks out there, subscribers. If you listen to this crazy radio show, you're sitting around listening to it, or cleaning the garage, or whatever you're doing, surfing the web. I often I'll talk about things or mention things just casually that really I don't in videos, or you may get a little, for your loyalty, you may get a little information that others don't get. Okay, I don't necessarily plan it, but I end up just talking about some things I don't normally talk about other places. One reason I wanted to do the radio show is so I can do that and just kind of chat with you, chat with myself, hang out here in the reloading room amongst all the ballistical ambiance, and just chat about firearms. So it's kind of like we're all here together, I guess. So anyway, very intimate, isn't it? The smart car, yeah, okay, forgot what I was going to talk about. Yeah, the smart car. Well, you saw the video probably if you're listening to this video, the drive-by smart car video, and a lot of people, I answered a few, wondered what I'd be doing with that thing. Did I buy that thing and everything? Of course, I'm pretty weird, I drive some strange cars and got quite a variety of vehicles, everything from a Yukon XL to a Honda Element, bicycles, John Deere tractor. It's hard to pigeonhole me, figure me, isn't it? Anyway, I did hit a deer. I think I might have mentioned somewhere in a comment with the Honda, and a big deer tore up the front end of the car. No, it doesn't take much, does it, to get into thousands of dollars. Anyway, it was in the shop, so I needed a car to rent. Went to pick up a car, and looked around, wanted something to get decent mileage, and that thing was sitting there. And I asked the guy, well, what about that crazy thing? Yeah, check it out. He said, yeah, and see if you can get in it. So I opened the door and got in, and it seemed pretty roomy for that little car. So yeah, why not? Kind of unique, something different, interesting. He said, bring it back before you get out of this little bit of distance from me in a small town. And hey, before you leave town, if you don't like it, just bring it back. We'll trade it out for something else. So okay. So I drove it around a little bit. That seemed okay. I'll just save a little gas here I figured I'd save a lot of gas for a few days while my car was being repaired. Well, then I get word my car is going to take longer to fix, and so there I am, got the smart car, and I'd had to take it 20 miles and go back and find time to get up there and replace it if I wanted to anyway, which I could have done. But it went on for about a week. I guess I had that car. Just got rid of it today, and more than a week actually. I had it about a week and a half, I suppose. But anyway, that's why I had the car, because it was a rental. That's why I had Florida license tags, and I didn't worry about showing the license tag and all that sort of thing. But I don't want to be an ad for the smart car or to necessarily trash the thing, but it did get progressively smaller as the week went by, I'll have to say. It built pretty well for something that small. I mean, basically, it's a glorified motorcycle. It's a motorcycle with a roof and windows, really, when you get right down to it. And pretty solid little car for what it is, but when you get that small, going down the interstate 70 miles an hour, it still feels like a coffee can. Sorry, it really did. Didn't have cruise control, and my head's up so far I couldn't see the speedometer very well through the steering wheel, and so I don't know, it was just a little bit awkward to drive. It got a little bit tighter than I thought it was after a while. Couldn't haul anything, stop at the grocery or anything. You couldn't get too many bags. It's pretty inconvenient for general use. I can see how maybe it'd be handy to have one, just for bopping around on, like a motorcycle. So anyway, that's the way I looked at it, kind of like a motorcycle with a roof that you didn't have to worry about the rain. And anyway, boy, am I glad to get my Honda back. I never realized that an Element would seem so huge when I got back in my Element. I don't know if you know anything about the Honda Element, but if you ever see someone riding in one, you notice they look small. I mean, really, notice that whenever you see a Honda Element. Notice the driver. They will look like a small person. They may not be, it's this one of the things that attracted me to that car is it has incredible amounts of headroom. When you sit in that thing, you have so much visibility, a panorama. You can see the moon, you can see the sky, you can see the road, you can see everything. It really is attractive, believe me. It's not just dreaming it. I don't have a relative who works for Honda or something and got a special deal. It's just when you get in one of those, you'd be surprised. Much more visibility than our GMC Yukon XL, which is a bus of a vehicle, huge. Much more room, more headroom, and maybe not any more leg room, but about the same. But much more visibility and headroom. I mean, it's just a fact, But anyway, what a contrast. I am so glad to get rid of that smart car. So those of you who thought maybe I had lost my mind and bought that thing, you can rest assured it is gone, and I am glad to get rid of it. By the way, before I wrap up, today I wanted to remind you again of another gun talker, in fact, the godfather of gun talk, Tom Gresham. He also has Gun Talk TV. I catch most of his shows on the Versus channel, and I think they're on YouTube too. I didn't know that till, very recently. I had some communication with him, but he has all those, I think all the Gun Talk TV shows that he's been doing lately are actually on a YouTube channel now. Pretty neat. If you missed those, I'm glad to find that out because I don't always catch them on the TV. But anyway, he is the godfather of Gun Talk. I catch his podcast every week. I listen to it in the morning early while I'm working and preparing my little devious drills to torment my students. So I'll just put him on and listen. Don't know if you can hear while I'm recording this. Out here in the reloading room, I have the window open. I hear some Fort Campbell helicopters going over. You probably couldn't hear that, but we get some activity now and then. Black Hawks, what are those gigantic helicopters? Chinook, Chinooks or the Black Hawks or various others maybe that I'm not familiar with going by. Usually to and from, I guess, Nashville. It's Fort Campbell, so I'm not all that far from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, which is on the border of Tennessee and Kentucky. So it's kind of neat. See some C-130s coming through occasionally, knowing that we're ready for anything, and that Fort Campbell is on the job. So it's a sound of freedom. Doesn't bother me a bit when I hear it. Doesn't bother me a bit. So as we wrap up for the week, just hope you get a chance to get out and shoot some, get to a range, indoor range, outdoor range, or maybe do some gun shopping, buy some ammo, help celebrate the anniversary this coming week of the official adoption date of the 1911 by our U.S. military. So it's a big week to celebrate, and we'll continue celebrating the entire year of the old 1911. It's all over the place, as I said, magazines, articles, and over the web. It's just a big year for that fine firearm. It's quite a year, quite a good time to keep some of those folks in mind. Alvin York or Jeff Cooper, John Browning, some of those boys and others. Rob Latham. All the folks who have shown what that gun can do over the years. Great gun, lots of fun to shoot. So I guess we'll wrap it up with those final thoughts on the 1911. Maybe we should have a minute of silence and everybody contemplate the 1911. Maybe we could bring back John Browning, or we could channel John Browning for just a minute, and hear his thoughts. We won't do that. I'm pretty weird, not that weird. I don't even have a Ouija board. Okay, anyway, been fun chatting with you, and hope you have some gun action this week of some sort, and that you are, again, as usual, representing the firearms community in a really positive way and not scaring anybody, letting people know, reminding people that we shooters is regular people that enjoy firearms as a hobby, And there are always weirdos out there involved in every endeavor, but we ain't them. We are not the weirdos. As Tom Gresham says, we're the good guys. You know, we're just shooters. We're just gun owners. And there are millions of us. We are powerful in number. So, have a good week, and I'll chat with you later, and you'll probably see me on YouTube. You guys take care. It's been fun. You've been listening to the Hickok45 Radio Show. See you on the range.